Hello and welcome back to the channel. When I tell you, I have tried to record this movie review 1, 2 separate times and I always got cut off. Somebody came in, something always happened. And then I had to wait 3 days. So now we finally here to record the first part of the Inception movie review. It's been warfare. But you're gonna get this review of this movie. Okay. So, we're starting at the beginning of the film. The movie starts with Leonardo DiCaprio. His name is either Dominique Eames or Cobb. I know they called him Cobb throughout the entire film. But as it went on, he washes up on the beach. Then an Asian police officer comes to get him. He's then in another scene sitting at the end of the table looking weather-beaten, beaten up, with his face down in a bowl of soup, not even looking up at the person on the opposite end of the table. And there's this really old Asian man is there sitting in this opulently beautiful Chinese, Japanese type, beautifully painted with oriental gold, red, and all of this, dragons and all of this. It's a beautiful room. Then it switches to the first time he met the old Asian man. They're in the exact same room, assumingly many years before. The old Asian man is now young, and Leonardo DiCaprio offering him an option. He's talking about extraction. And he's telling him he needs to know everything that is in the vaults of his mind and all of this. Because he needs him to sign a contract. His partner, Arthur, is sitting next to him. And then they start to hear a rumble. Now, naturally, you're like, was it an earthquake? What is this? He looks at his watch and it's counting down the seconds. Meanwhile, in another point in time, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Don, whatever you want to call him, is sleeping in a chair tied to the chair, sitting on a pedestal above a bathtub. His partner, Arthur, is sitting in the chair across from him. There's this nervous-looking guy who's checking the vitals on both of them, then goes into the back room where the Asian man is laying on the bed sleeping. And he's checking his vitals. And I just said that. That's why I paused. The man then turns and checks Leonardo DiCaprio's watch. And you hear an explosion go off outside. Meanwhile, back where they are awake in the dream state. Him and his partner are outside discussing what just happened. They need to get out, and Dom Cobb tells him, I'm close. I know where it is. I just have to go get it. He agrees. Arthur agrees. As he goes back, he passes a woman, stops, talks to her. Her name is Maul. Maul and him, as he's finishing his drink, go back to the room. He sets her in a chair, pulls out a rope. At first, you think that he's going to tie her up because he says, I need you not to move. But he takes the rope, hooks it in the floor, and she starts to inquire of him about their children. And asks if they miss her. He warns her, don't move out the chair. He then jumps, and as he's jumping out the window, he gets to the floor just below. He's just at the door, and the rope jerks, and he curses because he knows she got up. He crawls back up to the window, goes inside. He has a gun. He's checking to make sure that ain't nobody that he's going to need to take out. Then when he turns the corner, he sees a guy. He sneaks up on him, shoots him with a gun with a silencer on it, and slowly lays him on the ground. Then goes to the bottom of the steps and takes out the guy that's at the bottom of the steps, same way, in order to get to the room. Once he gets to the room, it's the exact same room that they just left. The same Asian, gorgeously decorated Chinese room, but the lights are off. He goes in there, he tests the wall, checks, there's the safe. Because while they were talking earlier, he mentioned the vault. And when he mentioned vault, the guy looked at the wall. This was where the safe was. He goes, opens the safe. Once he opens the safe, he takes out a folder. Not a folder, a manila envelope. And he takes the manila envelope and puts another one back, but you don't know this just yet. As he's grabbing the manila envelope, thinking he just took it, he is interrupted because Maul done brought the Asian man back. We later find out his name is Mr. Sadiko or Sato. And then his partner Arthur are with her. She got a gun and she threatening to shoot him. And she already done told the Asian guy exactly what he came there to do. Then Arthur says something, and he goes to shoot Arthur, and she said, if you shoot him, you're going to throw him into limbo. And he said, not if I don't kill him. And he shot him in the leg. And then when he woke up, he immediately comes to sitting in the chair that he was sitting in across from Leonardo DiCaprio. And he immediately talks to who they call the architect that's working with them and says, we got to get them up. But he wants Leonardo DiCaprio up first because he's like, we got to get him up. And he goes and starts shaking him to see if he can get him. He can't get him up like that. He's like, you're going to have to give him the kick. And he's like, what's the kick? It's like, give him the kick. He's like, it's not time for him to give him the kick. He goes and checks on the Asian guy, and the architect goes and pushes Leonardo DiCaprio into the water. Now, naturally, if somebody falls back into a pool of water or what have you, it takes less than 3 seconds. But because in the dream realm, 5 minutes is 1 hour. 3 seconds can be anywhere from 15 minutes or what have you. Well, not 15, but it's a good few minutes. It's probably like 3 or 4 minutes. This is when you start to see in the dream realm, water starts shooting everywhere, which is uncharacteristic for the reality that he's in. He knows that the dream is collapsing. It was already starting to collapse because the ceiling was starting to come in right when Maul and the Asian guy came in. Because the second that the Asian guy knew, the dream was going to start to collapse because they were in the Asian guy's dream. Or at least that's what we thought. So, after that, it comes back to their reality, and there's explosions going on outside, and now Leonardo DiCaprio is awake, and he's already gotten the paperwork. He had switched papers, because when the Asian guy figured out that he was trying to steal from him, he went to check the folder, and the folder actually had nothing in it. At the same time, while the dream was collapsing, he realizes he goes through the folder or through the file that was in the manila envelope. All the confidential paperwork was inside of there with all the writing on it. And it's like, oh, okay, he's got it. So it switches to Leonardo DiCaprio now. He's awake after he and Asian and everybody done fought. He got the Asian guy sitting in a chair across from him, and he's got a gun on him, and he's telling him, I found out your secrets, but you didn't give me everything. And he said, what are you talking about? I gave you, it was everything. That was everything. He's like, no, that was not everything. There's still something else. Because you were supposed to show me everything, but not everything was in that vault. And he's threatening him while at the same time, it's either Arthur or the architect is standing at the window, and he's like, yo, things are collapsing. We need to go because the explosions will get more powerful, which means that, which you will later find out, means that they're getting closer to coming to their point of getting woken up. And he ends up grabbing him. And meanwhile, in reality, the 4 of them are all sitting in a car on a train headed somewhere. But there's this little boy who was hired to watch the clock and to check it just before it went off. And he's checking it. He sees that it's only like a minute to 30 seconds left on the clock. So he puts earphones on the architect's ear and starts to play a old French tune in his ear. When he starts to hear it in the dream, it's like, we gotta wake up because it's time for us to leave the dream. And Leonardo DiCaprio realizes this, so he starts threatening the Asian guy, trying to get the last bit of details in relation to whatever it was that the Asian wasn't giving them. And Mrs. Sato wasn't giving them. And then they all started to come to. He knocked the guy to the floor, and he had a gun in his head, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of people come rushing in the room, and then you start to see them wake up. As they're waking up, Arthur turns to Dom Cobb's character and says, "Don't you think you cut that close?" And he was like, "I had it under control." He's like, "That's what control looks like to you. If that's control, I had to see what out of control look like." And he was like, "I gotta go." And he's like, "Why you gotta go so fast?" He's like, "I hate trains. I gotta go." So he rushes out with his suitcase and takes off. Then the architect, who didn't have everything under full control, they give him a look like whatever, and then they get ready to leave. The kid moves to his original seat in the opposite side of the car, and they get the what do you call it? Like, those medical tubes that were on his arm, and they take them off of Mr. Sato's arm, and they take the box and they take off. So when Mr. Sato wakes up, he's in the car by himself. The only person that's there is the kid. And he looks around and he's like, but he gets a smirk on his face as he's coming to fullness of clarity. He's like, like he knew something happened, and that wasn't all his dream. So now that we've gotten that much taken care of, let's dig deep in this. In the beginning of the dream, you see a beach. A beach usually means relaxation and rest. Okay? Now, you see a police officer come up. This is an Asian police officer. This is in relation to the man that they're trying to get the information from. This is why it's an Asian cop or Asian police officer. Let me preface this by saying, if you're having a dream, 9 times out of 10, the people, the characters, so on and so forth from your dream are going to be something in relation to you, your culture, the people around. You know this. If you've been having dreams, you know this. They're going to be certain things, something that's in relation to something that you're interested in. Even when you dream of celebrities, it's celebrities that you admire. If you watch a favorite TV show, the TV show will happen. I recently had a dream. I'll get deeper into that at another point in time. But I know that the Lord tends to use my favorite television shows, whether it's a current show that I'm watching or a past show I used to watch. And he will drop me smack dab in the middle of an action sequence that's like I'm in the middle of an episode, but it's not an actual episode. But I have to decipher what I'm seeing because I understand each character, the way each character operates. I have to then decipher what happened, and that is an explanation to what it was that the Lord was trying to show to me. This is why when I tell you, not everybody just decipher your dreams, because I could sit up there and tell somebody, "Oh, I had a dream of Sarah Michelle Gellar." The person I tell that to, they don't know me well enough to, maybe I never told them that my favorite television show, she was the star of the show, would say, why do you like Sarah Michelle Gellar? Or what's the connection to Sarah Michelle Gellar? I know that when I think of Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think of the character in which she played in the television show that the Lord has been using lately to speak to me. But if the person I'm talking to interpret my dream doesn't know what Sarah Michelle Gellar means, they're going to be like, what does that have to do with anything? Why did you see her? All they're going to be able to do is give me a basic review of the reason why. Perfect example. I told my coach one time I was having a dream that I couldn't really interpret, and she said, oh, you see these people because you're an artist. Because I'm an artist and creative, I see a lot of celebrities in my dreams. But most people, if you don't know that, they ain't gonna be able to interpret your dream. You can get a dream book, you can get a coding book, you can get all of that. Now, there's some things where I may have a specific set of details where I'm like, this detail seems a little off to me. I should probably check this out. Had a dream a kangaroo kicked me in the mouth. I'm like, why in the heck did a kangaroo kick me in the mouth? Dream interpretation, something that I was looking at on my phone, said that could also mean an enemy. Surprise attack. Because I was like, where the heck did this kangaroo come from? Now, secondly, the beach. In most of the dreams, especially connected to Leonardo DiCaprio, in this movie, the beach meant something to him. So that's why he would see the beach at some point in his dream. Even when he was at the in that Asian building, it was off the waterfront of a beach because that meant something to him. The beach had a connection to him. Something that at this point we do not know what that connection is. So to us, it looks like, oh, this looks like pretty scenery in the dream. No, it actually meant something to him. That's how they were able to know later on. He admits the dream was his. But also, the person incepting, for instance, if the dream was the Asian guy, because I think it ended up coming out that it was the Asian guy, Leonardo DiCaprio, he was not the architect in the dream, but he later find out he's having a little bit of an issue. And I'll explain that later. But the issue he's having causes him to have the ability to affect the atmosphere around them in the dream. So he could pull them onto a beach because he was in the dream. Now, next, as we saw, we were in this beautiful Asian place. That was Mr. Sato's imagination. Okay? That opulent place, anytime you see opulence or beautiful spaces, one of two things. This was the Asian man's dream. And because this was involving the Asian man, he had control a bit of the location, meaning it's a location that could be pulled from his own memory. Okay? Now, the thing about it, and the thing that got Leonardo DiCaprio caught towards the end of this man's dream, is the architect's job is to simulate known places and spaces from the person whose mind they were infiltrating's space. So he would look at a photograph or go into the space or what have you, and the architect would create an identical duplicate of that thing. Why am I telling you this? Have you ever been dreaming and you dreamt of a familiar place from your past? I've had dreams, even as of recently, of either the place that I'm in right now. I will literally dream, go sleep, and it'll be like I woke up, but I'll be in the same place. The reason that I know it's not the right place is that there will be a glitch. Okay? I will be able to see that something was forced into the atmosphere, meaning it'll look like where I am, but something will be different. It'll be bigger. It'll be smaller. It'll be something about the landscape that doesn't fit the place that I'm in. Meaning, maybe it'll have the bathroom from the place I was in previously, in the place that bathroom was, in relation to that place, but in this place. For instance, if the bathroom was across from the front door where I was in my past place, it'll be in the exact same place, meaning it'll be at the front door and it'll be the exact same bathroom. But it's in the wrong apartment. You see what I'm saying? Or you may find a literal infusion where you're in a place and it's like somebody tried to imprint something directly on top of the place that you were already in, and you're like, this doesn't fit, this doesn't even look correct. It's like somebody took the apartment or the space that you already were in and put a stamp, put something on top of it, and you're like, yo, we still in the same place I was before. It's just decorated different. And it's not even decorated. It's something infused into the walls, infused into the space that you're like, wait, something don't feel right about this. What do you call that? That's a spirit of masquerading. I'll dig deeper into this as I dig deeper into the understanding of how these people are operating in the dream space, okay? Because it's like the architect restructuring the atmosphere, and it's going to get a little bit clearer as I go further into the dreams and how they operate, how this works spiritually, okay? I don't got much more time, but I will say this. They get back. He gets back to his apartment. He's sitting there and he's got a gun threatening to shoot himself, Leonardo DiCaprio. And he's watching a spinning top spin. One of those, like the little weighted spinning, I don't know what you call it. It's a spinning top, like you've seen it before. I can't think of the name of it. But if I knew how to insert stuff on my mobile device images, I do it, but I don't know how to do that. But he lets it spin until it drops on its side, and then he breathes out a sigh of relief, then calls his kids, and tells them that he's going to leave them a gift and he's going to send his Christmas gift by his kids. And they're like, Mom, when's Mommy coming back? He's like, Mommy's not coming back. I already told you that. I'll come back as soon as I can. I'm going to send you your Christmas gifts, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets off the phone, and then his friend Arthur comes in and he apologizes for shooting him in the leg. And then he says, we got to get out of here. He's like, where are you going to go? I'm going to go over here. He's like, where are you going to go? I'm going to go over to the Barts or something like that. He said, I'm hiding. And they getting ready to go get in the plane. And here's Mr. Sato. He's sitting in the plane. And he's like, hi, how you doing? They done got the architect. The architect, he's like, sorry, I didn't. He's like, yeah. The architect gets dragged out the helicopter. Because evidently he was supposed to go with them, but he getting dragged out the helicopter. But Mr. Sato is like, I see what you can do, and you're good at it. And they get in, and they're like, what do you want? And he's like, I need you to do me a favor. And he's like, what do you need? We already did what we were supposed to do. We went in, we got the information. He's like, but you didn't accomplish what you were supposed to do. And I'm assuming your bosses are not that happy about that, because your architect friend is going to be sent back to Cobalt. And you know what they're going to do. And then they're sitting there like, okay. He said, you extracted information from my brain. I need you to insert information into someone's brain. And he's like, that can't be done. You cannot insert information into other person's brain. He's like, what do you mean you can't insert information into somebody's brain? He's like, okay. His partner Arthur tells him, all right, don't think of elephants. What's the first thing you're going to think of? That's why you can't insert information into someone's brain. But Leonardo DiCaprio sits there and says, actually, you can insert the information into somebody's brain. And Arthur's looking at him like, are you serious? We were almost out of this situation. He's like, but it's very dangerous and it's not easy to do. He's like, but it can be done. He's like, yes, it can be done. He's like, what do you want? He's like, there's nothing I want. He trying to get off the plane. Arthur gets off with him. They trying to walk away. And he's like, what if I could send you home? And he turns around. What you mean? What you talking about? What if I could send you home? It's like, I know you have a little pesky issue. What if I could clear that up for you? He's like, even if I could get this done, could you really promise me you could get me home? And he was like, yes. So, I'm going to leave you there, and we're going to go into the next part. I'm going to see how far we get. Until next time, much love, faith, peace, and blessings.